All right.
Recess over.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the little pause there. We had some microphone issues, but as soon as I flip this, we will be ready to go next. Up next is the mayor of Nixa, Jarad Giddens, who will talk to you about how the state taxes or the city taxes come in and are used. Most of them are based on sales taxes. And it's a hard thing to do to generate sales taxes.
That it is. So just a couple things real quick, since Mr. Commissioner Williams messed up on the last one. So the sales tax in Nixa is 8.725. Missouri takes 4.225% of that. Christian County gets their 1.5 with the additional 0.25 going to emergency management, and the Christian County Ambulance District gets 0.5%. That was something that was passed, I believe, last year in one of the elections. So the city of Nixa gets 2.25%. If you look at the back of your agenda that Ron handed out and look at those numbers, you can see the portion of property tax that Nixa gets. So my property tax bill on my house was pretty similar to the one that you heard earlier, Jeremy read, but one addition is it has the city of Nixa on there. So out of over $4,000, almost $3,800 goes to the school, and about $176 goes to the city. So I love having those conversations. Actually, last snowstorm we had, an individual called me and said, "I pay my taxes, and you should be able to plow my road every day." I said, "Well, as soon as they started the truck, they used the money that you gave, because it's not a lot, so it's hard to operate on that. So we rely on people shopping local. But as they were talking about earlier, the use tax. I will tell you right now, the use tax is completely saving the city. So we have, with our 2.25% tax, 1% goes to our general fund, 0.5% goes to streets, and 0.75% goes to our law enforcement tax that was passed about 2 years ago. And with that, to get that passed, we were promising the community we were going to build a new police department and hire more officers. So far, we have kept those promises. We continue to hire new officers. We should have the police department done by the end of the year. For any of you who are interested, you should attend whenever we have the grand opening of it, ribbon cutting. It's going to be a really, really amazing facility. Hopefully it'll fit their needs for many, many years to come.
Just on the correct side of the bars.
Yes.
Your choice.
So I'll explain real quick, because we're a little different than the county. We actually, myself and the council, we do have control over the entire budget and every department. So give you kind of an idea of where the money goes. And one thing that was said earlier that Mr. Taylor added about, what if someone notices something a lavish expense that maybe shouldn't be needed. There's one thing that I've learned being involved with other elected officials within the state and being on the Missouri Mayor's Council and different organizations. The residents of Christian County actually have it very, very good. And by that, I mean the transparency of your local government is actually amazing. There are awards that are given throughout this whole region for transparency, and also they stretch a dollar like you wouldn't believe. It never looks like Nixa or even Ozark or some of the areas around here are doing without. It's because our departments make a dollar go a long way. They are very good at saving. That's how we're able to do a lot of the things that we did. The new all-inclusive playground that we put in, that was $1 million. We saved for 10 years to get that. So it wasn't something that we just, bought when we didn't really need it. It was something that had been planned for a long time, and that's really how the local government in this area works, and works really well together. So on that whole thing, the police department, They have a revenue of around $3.8 million, and our expenses with the police department is around $7.2 million. Do the math on that, a little bit of a deficit. Parks, the revenue of $1.45 million and expenses at $2.46 million. So those two things, those are the ones that I'm going to stop and discuss a little bit first. Those are two things that bring people to this community. You know, we operate off sales tax, so we need people to come here. We want people to be upset at how busy the big new pool is over in Republic and come to ours. Because when they're here, they're going to go to McDonald's, they're going to go to Walmart, they're going to spend their money. Those are also two things that we believe shouldn't be an expense to our citizens. So when we have rec sports, kids that live in the area, they pay a lot less than kids from outside the area. Because a lot of communities outside the area aren't able to offer what we do. When you get into, you know, say second grade boys basketball, or I guess second grade, it's mixed. A lot of cities that have that, they'll get to have a practice, and then they get their game schedule, and they don't get any more practices. They get to meet at the games unless the coach goes out of his way to rent a gym somewhere, which is, I can tell you, is next to impossible to find these days. And in my opinion, and I've coached youth sports, those practices that's the biggest part of letting a kid know if that's what they're going to want to do forever. They want to continue to be a basketball player, a soccer player, or maybe none of it. Maybe they want to get into karate or something like that. But those practices where kids develop. I know I was an athlete when I was a kid, and I mean, imagine if we only went to games. I mean, as a kid, yeah, that's all I wanted to do, right? Because it was like I didn't want to run. But in Nixa, we're still able to offer facilities for they can practice every week and have games every week. The bad thing is it's not something that's really sustainable with the growth of our community. We're running out of gym space. The schools they've created kind of their own leagues, and so they're using their gyms more. We don't have access to them. So that's something that we've, you know, been looking at. And the law enforcement tax that was brought on a ballot, that was done because of the prior strategic plan. And the strategic plan brings community members together and they decide what they want to see in the next 5 years for the city. And they said they wanted something to go on the ballot to let the voters decide on whether we should invest more in building a new police department and pretty much invest in public safety. Community voted on it, said yes. I'm a little bit different. There's a lot of times it's very easy to just keep going to a ballot and ask for more sales tax. My goal is to increase the tax base, not the total tax. So we really invest in economic development. Our goal is to bring in new business as much as we can, bring in new jobs, new places for, you know, honestly, for kids to hang out. That's one thing that I get a lot of when I go speak at the schools, especially the high school. The kids want something to do on the weekends. They don't like going to Springfield. And the really cool thing about it is, if you go to MoDOT's website, you can actually look at traffic counts in different areas where they've done them. And pre-COVID, the majority of the city of Nixa left the city during the day. They were gone, so that's why you could go anywhere and eat lunch in Nixa back then, and you would hardly run into it. Now our numbers are completely different. I think whenever COVID hit, a lot of people realized that they could work from home. There's more remote jobs out there available. And we actually have a lot larger daytime population, which is part of the reason you're seeing us get new restaurants now, because they look at that. They actually look at a lot of things that you'd be amazed. They look at, obviously, your daytime population, traffic counts. They will literally go on and watch city council meetings. They'll watch planning and development meetings if they're available, because they want to make sure that the city that they're going to invest in is worth investing in. So if they go watch their city council meetings and it's just chaos, they don't have a lot of faith in the local government, and they'll look at another place. So that's huge. We actually are working with a lot of big name businesses that we want to bring to town. But the one thing about those until recently, normally those big name businesses are not what you see on the kids' jerseys that play at the parks. It's the local businesses that are sponsoring the kids, giving money back to the community. And so that's why it's really important to, continue to support those. Parks, honestly, if I could make it free for everyone to go to, we would do it. We would love to not have to charge anything for community members to be able to use the parks. Now, granted, the majority of the park spaces are, pay for those, but going into the pool, using that costs money. That was one of the main reasons when we opened the new splash pad that we did it for free. We wanted it to be available to the public anytime at no cost. Our streets department, this is actually one that really concerns me because keeping up with the growth, the one thing that is great about growth though is the developers pay for the first set of streets they put in. But then once that's done, it's turned over to us to manage, and those are very expensive. What we used to be able to do on a road is quadruple the cost now, at least. So street department, we have revenue of 6.6 million with an expense of 2.9 million. We're able to save some money in that. After a couple of years, we'll probably be able to do one street project. Just to give you an idea of what street projects cost, so North Street, right down here, I think everyone would agree that road kind of sucks. There's no walkability, there's no sidewalks, it's hilly, there's blind spots, and it leads to 3 different schools. And so that's dangerous. It's not something that we want. We wanted to look at flattening it out, widening it, having sidewalks. We did the engineering on it, and we're looking at, right now if we did it, probably about $15 million. So, if you're saving $3 million a year, it's gonna take a little bit to save up for that. And that's hoping that no other street gets messed up in that time that we have to work.
And with inflation, it'll be 24 million when you save 15 million.
No joke. That is no joke. And to go along with that, water department revenues at 13.8 million. So our water department is actually outside of the city of Nixa as well, because we purchased 2 other water companies. We were wanting to secure our growth where we could grow north, and we'd be able to enhance the water quality on the north side of town anyway. And so we purchased RDE water system and the water system down at Tuscany Hills down at Double A. Ended up being great. We have more customers now. We actually provide a lot better service than what they got before. However, we need to put in a new water tower, and there's actually one on Ashley Drive, which is straight north in that industrial area of Walmart. While that's actually not in city limits, that little chunk right there is county. That tower that we're gonna put there, we just decided to use the same version of what we'd already done of the one out by the dog park, off South Truman. When we built that one, 4 years ago, it was a little below $3 million, and to build it right now is almost $9 million. So exact same tower, nothing different. We didn't add any new technology or new paint or anything like that. It's the exact same thing. So the prices on a lot of those things are going up sky high. Our electric department, this is one that we have been very fortunate on, and the citizens should actually be everybody's pretty blessed that we own our own utility, because when other utility providers in the area were raising their rates, we actually did a rate reset. That was in 2022. Yep, and we went back to the 2017 rates with a plan to increase rates, small portions each year, and then by 2026, be back to where we were in 2022. We did that because the economy was kind of crazy with COVID, and we wanted to save some people as much money as we could. So we did that. I'm very concerned about electric rates right now, extremely concerned actually, with a lot of the coal power plants going offline because of all of that. It is a lot of natural gas is being used. Electricity, like the electric rates, that stuff, that is traded 7 days a week. Natural gas is traded 5. It keeps the price high. And so we're going to see, unless something changed, I actually saw in the news today that I think Trump did 700 either million or billion towards coal power plants. In my opinion, we have to bring those back because there will not be affordable power if we don't. As much as we stand by and Ron has been to our meetings, we never want to raise rates. Anything we can do to lower them, we try to do that. We're gonna be in a point where we don't have a choice.
People don't realize how lucky they are that their rates are as low as they are, because of how much heat Nixa eats of that.
Yeah. So our revenues with the electric department are 22 million, right around 22 million. Our expenses are 17.2 million. Everything in that world's expensive, but we're actually starting one of the largest infrastructure projects that the city's ever taken on to grow to the west, and really opens up a lot of commercial growth that will in turn help bring that money back into, I mean, commercial for our electric customer, they're great. You know, they pay more, they really don't use power during the night hours, which is really when you don't want them to use. And so it's better for the city and it gives us more money to invest back into the community. Wastewater and recycling, our revenues there, 17.4 million, with expenses of 2.9 million. It's very good to have that savings there, because everything, has anyone in here been down to the water treatment facility?
Unfortunately.
You will never forget the smell. Oh yeah, you guys have. You'll never forget the smell, but it is a huge operation. It's amazing to see how the water goes from right out of your toilet to absolutely crystal clear. It's nuts. But they do a really good job down there, but everything with that costs a lot of money. And God forbid we ever be in a position where the citizens of Nixa can't flush their toilet. That would get really bad. I will say one thing that we have done, going on to what you guys were talking about earlier, is we have invested pretty heavily in technology. We wanted to make things easier because we were going through the same issues with our utility department as what you described earlier, with people getting their utility shut off. I mean, it's, like I said, no one's perfect. It happens. You forget, or times are tough. You have to figure out, do I feed the kids or do I pay the bill? So we kind of changed things, because after I was on council for a couple of years, and after getting a lot of phone calls from people in the evenings whose power was shut off, and they either were on oxygen or some kind of medical thing, and honestly, I would get our on-call people out there to turn it back on. I was like, something's got to be done, and we were notorious for not taking partial payments and things like that, because it would have been a nightmare. It would have been impossible to manage. We would have never been able to stay up with it. So we decided, let's look into something else, because we know there's people that do that. We invested in the technology, and we actually now have added payment kiosks. And so if someone gets home at 6 o'clock and their power's turned off, they can go put cash in that payment kiosk. Here pretty soon, it will be able to automatically turn their power back on. We're switching to different metering that will give them the ability to just buy some extra power for the night. And then we will work out payment plans. A lot of times what we would do is just take that balance and put it on a payment plan, but they still have to stay current with their bill. If they are on a payment plan and they don't pay their next bill, then it's gonna get shut off. I mean, at some point you have to be able to collect that, or it just snowballs. So going to the taxes and how it actually affects and the benefits of a use tax. Nixa passed a use tax, the voters did, years ago, with probably about 100% support from every local business. It levels the playing field. And it makes it to where, yeah, I know I can order this item on Amazon, or I can go get it at Nixa Hardware. But if I wasn't having to pay the tax, and then it's a little bit cheaper on Amazon, I'll just order it when it comes along. It makes people think about that. It's like, is it really worth it? I can just go to Nixa Hardware and buy it and be done with it today. And that was kind of how that was proposed, and it passed. So right now, our general fund sales tax revenue this year is negative $4,619 on what we projected. We are very conservative on our projections. I think we projected like a 1.5% to 2% increase in sales tax this year. That's how we worked our budget. And we're currently on general, we're below that. On our public safety tax, we're at a negative $20,040 on what was projected. On our transportation, we are a negative $17,964. But on our use tax, we are over budget $111,832. I can tell you right now that $111,832 makes a huge difference. That is the difference in us going in right now and changing what we're doing with the police department, the new one that we're building. That's the difference in some other projects getting cut this year. Might even be the difference in employees getting a cost of living raise. Those aren't things that we want to do. While it may be a fix for now, it ends up messing up things in the future. That's the last thing that any of us want to do. So that use tax, it has changed the city of Nixa for sure. It's very, very beneficial. While I understand some of the arguments against it, I think it's important to level the playing field with some of your local businesses and giving people another reason to go there. You guys did touch base a little bit on the income tax. I will just tell you right now my concern. There is so much unknown right now, and when you have a community that relies on economic development and growing a local business and getting people to shop local, you don't want to give them another reason to buy online. And again, I'm not trying to go doom and gloom and say that the state people are going to screw us. You know me, I'd say it anyway. But there's so much we don't know. We don't know what kind of sales tax they're going to have. We don't know what kind of services they would put a tax on. There's a lot of things we don't know. And so that's my concern, is because inflation currently continues to surpass the increase in sales tax revenue that we get, which is why we concentrate so much on economic development. But it just concerns me. I mean, it concerns me for the future of Nixa, and I'd hate to have to cut out any services. So, any questions? That's a lot of numbers.
I was gonna say, I'm glad what you were saying about the economic development, because I mean, we all enjoy the small town atmosphere. But like example, Ozark, one of the state reps had made the statement that he wanted Ozark to stay a bedroom community. Well, that sounds great, but then the Eastern Commissioner was saying later, he told me, he goes, that won't work. Because you have to, like I guess there's a formula for every person you have in the town, you're supposed to have so many police officers, different things. If you don't have that revenue come in, it doesn't work. That's kind of our concern. We're not the country, but we're Rogersville address. That's what Rogersville. Rogersville's growing like everything. They do not have much business.
I feel like you're seeing Nixa do it right. Nixa was voted the 4th safest city in the state of Missouri. And it's because the voters said, that's what we want. We're going to pass this tax. The city put the tax towards what that is. They got more officers on the road. They design it. They do it. They have zones. There's people there. When you call the police, they're there quickly. When you're driving down the street, people are like, gosh, there's a cop everywhere.
You're welcome.
But but literally the people that are out doing bad and doing that are saying the same thing. And they're like, I'm going over here. I'm going to Springfield. So it's safe. And that's what it takes, is commitment from the people.
Yeah, and it's a double-edged sword. I mean, on what you're talking about, because even if we completely stop, no more houses are being built. Well, okay, well then the sales tax revenue is going to stop, most likely, because I owned a business that I relied on sales. I'm probably not going to go to the community where there's not going to be any more growth, but the cost of fixing the roads, the cost of keeping up with the sewer, the stormwater, the electric, everything, that's going to keep going up. And so, but I still, and I will argue this with anybody, while Nixa has grown really fast, I mean, we're over 26,000 people at this point, I still go to Walmart or Walgreens, or I don't care where it's at. I can have a conversation with anyone, even if I've never met them before in my life. They're nice, they wave at you. I mean, we still act like a small town community. And you really don't believe me? Wait till something happens and watch the community come together. Because it happens. And I mean, we have the best people, and the people make the small town feel. Because I've been in small towns where it doesn't have a small town feel, because you don't feel welcome, and it's the people of Nixon that make that feel.
That's a good point, Jared, and
Yes.
I think all of Christian County is that way, and why we're one of the fastest growing counties also, because it is the people.
You know, I've worked with the gentleman here, I've worked with Jarad for years, doing the business I worked for prior.
Called a lot of traffic.
Yeah, I did.
Down Main
So,
Street.
you know, but you know, I've traveled a lot across the last 4 states in the last year, and let me tell you that, you know, one, we are very fortunate in the fact, Christian County, and what we have, the people we have, the transparency we have, it's amazing. I've seen a lot of stuff. Our taxes are, you know, pretty fair across the board. You know, and I've been fortunate. I've been involved in Christian County politics for a long time, and I will say that all your elected officials, you know, at the county, NICSA, they're very approachable. If you want to communicate, they're very open, they're very transparent. Set an appointment with them and they will communicate. I mean, you know, the line of communication is amazing. When I ran for, you know, me running for office, I've communicated with Lynn, you know, Jeremy, Johnny, Brad, Amy. So I've communicated with Jarad for years. So, but I can't express enough how fortunate we are, like you said, and it's the people in the community that make the community.
Sometimes I'm too transparent, because I can tell you, my
Yes.
attorney gets very nervous as soon as I open my mouth. Yeah.
So, this one off again.
No, it's good, it's on, just talk.
So, has the city of Nixa, considered putting a moratorium on like the apartments now that we've exceeded with a lot of apartments to help offset the crime? Because obviously with more apartments, you have more crime, and apartment inventory in Nixa and really in Ozark too, but it has exceeded the population where it concerns the quarter of the city.
I'm actually really glad you asked that question. So there is honestly, there's a lot of false information out there about this. So the comprehensive plan that was created with over 100 volunteers that helped create this, that decides where Nixa is going to go for the next 20 years. One of the things that they decide when they're doing all this is future land use and zoning. And so they look at areas and say, you know what, this is on a highway corridor, this should be commercial. Or, you know, this is on a corner of a street, this should be some sort of multifamily, whether it's condos, whether it's a mixed use development with retail down below and lofts above it. And then they also set a threshold of not to exceed, which is the amount of available residential housing in the city. So they set that at 15% for multifamily housing. They did not want that to go above 15%. So 75% of the housing in the city of Nixa will be single family houses. We are currently at 9% zoned. That doesn't mean that's how many have been built. There are 9, so I think we're at like 8.2% of what has been built. So 8.2% of the available housing in Nixa is multifamily. So there's still 8.8 that's already zoned. That means someone could go in tomorrow and build an apartment there, or a duplex, or a townhouse. So we're still below that number. However, if you go ask the schools right now what their biggest concern is, in Nixa, their biggest concern is enrollment. The younger classes are nothing like the upper classes, because a new family with a younger kid cannot afford a house in Nixa. So the idea of apartments, and my first house was a single wide trailer. So, I mean, you have to start somewhere. The idea of apartments is kind of graduating up in where you live. So you meet your spouse, you get married, you get an apartment, because you may not want to take care of a yard, maybe you want to travel, you're not ready to own a house. You know the average age right now, first time home buyer?
37, 40.
42. Used to be in the 20s. They are not buying houses. They don't, not necessarily because they can't afford them, but it's because that's not the life they want yet. They want to travel. They don't want to mow a yard. They don't want to, I love mowing my yard. That's my relaxing time. Not them. That's not their idea of a good time. And so it's just, been a culture shift, and they want to start in something where, like the new ones that were just built over in my neighborhood in Wicklow. It's a community. It has a walking trail, has a really nice clubhouse, has a nice pool, fitness center, has all the amenities that someone would want. And I don't think you're gonna see a high crime rate. And it never happens in the beginning, but then the older they get and everything. But these companies that are doing these now, they have a history of very well managed properties. They stay up on them. Their background checks, you have to get approved almost like you're getting approved for a loan on a home. They check your credit score, they check your background, they check everything. So anytime you put a lot of people in a small space, you might have more issues. So it's not, if you look at our calls for service, it's not always in the apartment areas. So I trust our comprehensive plan. It's something that we use to move forward with because it's the best advice that we got from the community. And whenever we have council meetings, the craziest thing ever, we approved the budget for 2026. That's a big deal. We're deciding every dime that's going to be spent in the city of Nixa. There was one person sitting in that room. One. Now there's plenty that'll bitch after the fact about where we spent the money, but no one was there in the beginning. So that's kind of the problem. But I'm glad that's why we use that, because it was developed by the citizens for us to use to go forward. Now it's something that could change. If you didn't like something on it, come to us. Tell us.
Another question.
Can I add something to that real quick, Ron?
Yeah.
Because it deals with the market value and how we set our values, and it's the market. And like Jarad says, it's a supply and demand. People are wanting to move here. We're the fastest growing. And when we don't have enough houses, those apartment buildings, they do plans. They know what the city can hold. When you get more apartment buildings, that helps stabilize that market to where prices of those houses
They're
don't
workers
continue
for
to
the
rise.
restaurants, and they're workers for the local things, maybe while they're going to college.
They shop.
In
So-
fact,
So instead of houses going up 20% a year, once you get your housing to meet that demand, the supply starts to meet the demand, whether it's multifamily or single family homes, it starts stabilizing that market so you don't see those huge increases from year over year on the values of the homes.
in fact, economic development, one of the things that I've heard throughout Christian County multiple times is, we want to see more restaurants, we want to see more, shopping.
Yep.
You have to have the people that will pay to shop. So you have to provide something for them to be here, to live here, to shop here,
That's
So,
some of the data that Jarad said that they look at.
Yeah, the comprehensive plan that they put together is very, detailed. In fact, thinking ahead to where you're looking for those retail and restaurants.
This is where you go back to the police portion of it. You talk about the crime and the increase in those portions. When you go to Springfield and you see what they can afford with their police, the police officers will come to work and they may be 20 calls behind. They go home at the end of their shift, they're 20 calls behind. They don't have time to go look and see what's going on. When you have a community that backs your police, you have enough police force on, and they go, hey, we've had 6 calls over here. 3 people's called in because there's drugs. They've got cops that can actually watch those areas, stopping people, checking their vehicles for drugs. And what happens to those people? They go, I don't want to live here. They're watching me, and they move out. And that it's full circle, as it comes around. I had 2 daughters that when they started college, they're like, Dad, I want to move out. I want to be on my own. They wanted an apartment. There wasn't an apartment available, so they went to Springfield. One of the apartments got shot into and whatever. And I said, you're getting your butt back home. But they need safe places to go and good communities. So it's hard to just say, well, you're low income, so you can't be here. There's so much more that goes into that.
So did I hear you say that this Macaulay Park was upgraded for handicapped kids? Is that, you
Yeah.
said it cost how much?
$1 million.
So how much was the park worth that was there that was totally destroyed and wiped out?
Honestly, zero. It was at the end of life. Honestly, we reached out to the company that built it, and they were like, they didn't warranty that stuff anymore. They didn't even make those parts anymore. So we would have had to retrofit it. Our insurance wouldn't have covered us if we had done it. So it was at the point that it didn't need to go.
So does our assessor know what the assessed valuation of all that equipment was?
Taxing entities are
The thing
exempt.
that really gets me,
But we don't pay taxes on it.
there were park benches that you cannot say had no value. And they took and destroyed them on purpose. There was no stewardship at all of that McCully Park at all.
Which park benches? Because most of them were rusted. Once we got them out down in the base in the concrete, they were rusted. Oh, yeah.
I got good close-up pictures of it.
I'd love to see it.
I'll post them for you. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
I will say one other thing on the whole parks thing. So you know when you guys download an app and it says ask for app or allow app to track or don't track. So a lot of people just go ahead and click yes. There's a company called Placer AI, and they actually gather that data. And the way we use it is it allows us to see how many unique visitors we get to Macaulay Park. And so previously we would get not a lot of people over at Macaulay Park because again, the equipment was old. This last year we had 97,000 visitors to Macaulay Park. Personally, I think it was a very good investment. Getting to go there and see handicapped kids with their non-handicapped sibling on the same swing together and going around the playground, it'd have been worth way more than $1 million, in my opinion. And those people that come here, they're spending money, investing back in the community.
I agree. Good job.
I just wanted to say, I hope this isn't coming off as us assuming that you guys are doing the worst, because I don't think I'm speaking for, or at least for myself. I just my perception, sometimes, and I think the biggest example I can think of recently is there was perception, it was communicated, at least to me, that like the Nixa High School redid their amphitheater or something like that, and it was priced out to where, and I don't know if the math is accurate, but it was like really expensive per seat kind of thing. And so for me, my questions spur from things like that, where are we really being as, like for me as a homeowner, family owner and all that stuff, I mean, we all know the budgetary constraints we have. We don't just be like, hey boss, I want to do some cool things. I need some more money. And so sometimes, and so sometimes, I think that is where my at least perception is where what can we do to, have better visibility and maybe have a little bit more restraint so that, there's not as much need for the rampant, reevaluation of all our stuff and the increase of it, because it puts more pressure on ultimately the people that are, actually paying those bills. And I know everybody gets that, and I just, I don't know. I think what I want to do is I want to sit down, find time, make time, create time. Go, hey kids, bye. I want to go learn.
Right.
County's doing all this, stuff, but I mean, really, that's the big holdup. Is there's, a lot of stuff you guys are learning and doing your honest to God best with, and I appreciate it. Just to help make that more digestible to others, I think that would be helpful. So that we can really, maybe not only make you guys feel like, I hope you guys are feeling like you're defending yourselves, but, for others to then really know that you're not just squandering it. And that, but at the same time, like the schools, I think the schools do use more money than I think they really could and should and need to use. And that's just one example. So if there's anything that we can do to plug into that, I think that's what I'm here for. And so I don't know if I'm representing everybody else, but that's what I hope that you guys can help make easier, and then legislators can help bring more common sense to where it's needed. And you guys know it best, and I think that, if you guys can help advocate and champion those kind of things, that's what I would really.
We appreciate that. We appreciate that approach because it's exactly what we want. It's
Yeah,
people that
don't
care.
stop doing what
Yes.
you're doing. Ask questions.
No.
Absolutely.
And we're explaining not the
Because
thing.
we learned from,
Well, right,
and we need to
we learned
explain
from
all
also.
I just didn't know how you guys were perceiving this.
No,
guys
no.
felt like you had to come and defend yourselves.
Not at all.
No,
But
no, I love it.
it's just a lot of, and I appreciate it all. I just,
Keep asking those questions, and if you think of an idea of how the city can be more transparent or how the county can, let us know. I mean, one thing that we've
100%.
recently started, we've done it with the police department, we've done it with city council, is police department does a weekly wrap up, tells you everything they did. How many traffic stops they made, what each one was, and then the city council is now doing the council chat once a month, and they're telling you what's been on the agenda, what's been decided on, maybe what's coming up. I started to deal with the Chamber of Commerce. We do every month. We do a video and I talk about things that are coming up and big projects or whatever, but also, follow social media, but look at the website. Go to nixon.com, go to Project Tracker. You can see every project going on in the city. Some of them, like even private ones, not just city projects, but you can look at if it's a residential development, if it's an apartment complex, you can see those pictures and every document that pertains to it.
We recently put all our stuff online, so you can see all the boards that we have. If you're interested in the board, the people that are on those boards, so if you want to talk to them, you can go and see when there's seats up in those boards, if you're interested in applying for those sections. So it's constant growth. It's a lot of work.
And we all need
That's
to
what
be
we want.
questioned. We want to be accountable. We need to be questioned.
Constituents that care and communicate is what we need, because you learn from each other.
Steve, you got
Good,
something?
last question. Okay, last question, Steve Perry. Just to clarify a point, Trump pledged $700 million to coal plants.
Hopefully, billions.
So that's what he signed on. So I did have a question, just to straighten something out. So you're talking about for youth sports, you're running out of gym space in order to have to hold this.
Yeah.
Okay. Is the school district who has a lot of gym space, are they opening or are they closing it, and are those facilities sitting idle for youth sports when you're looking for more space?
Good question. So we currently pay to rent the gym space. But they are growing their youth program. I think to go well. Actually, prime example, I coached a girls basketball team from the time they were first grade up to whenever they hit fourth grade. I was like, I really think the best thing for you girls is to join the NIXA youth program, because the NIXA coaches are involved. They're going to want to get seen at a younger age, so they have a better chance to play on varsity. And coincidentally, most of those girls are on the varsity team now. But so they're expanding that youth program, and that'll limit the amount of space that we have available to use. So if they're using the gym, we can't use it. So that's kind of the predicament we're in. We're looking at possibly maybe, at Macaulay Park, there's, the gym's right here, and then there's like kind of the conference room areas, that empty space there. Maybe we could save up and somehow buy a gym to add on, but that would only solve a little small piece. And it's not just basketball. Right now we're okay with youth soccer, but the field that we use right over here by Rotary, that's owned by Cox Health System. We looked at buying it. I think they would only sell that plus the other portion that they own behind Price Cutter, and it was in the millions and millions. We couldn't afford to do that, because if the soccer doesn't make a lot of money, so we wouldn't be able to pay for that. So we could eventually be out of space for soccer as well. I don't try to be doom and gloom. It's just, this is what we're dealing with. We have so many kids in youth sports, which I love it. There's a lot of travel teams that the kids can get into at a young age, but those are expensive. Not everyone can afford them. So I think it's good for kids to figure out what they want to do when they're younger, when it doesn't cost a lot.
Yeah, so I guess what I was trying to get to is I just wanted to clarify that if we had taxpayer available gym space, regardless of who the taxing entity is, we're all taxpayers, we're all paying part of that for youth sports, and the city is running out of gym space for those sports. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear that there wasn't gym space being closed off, that's being paid for by the taxpayers, regardless of the taxing entity. Because it all comes on one bill.
Yep.
Okay, and I pay taxes to Nixon. And that you weren't being closed out of a school from the school system, just say, no, you can't use it, even though they were being supported by taxpayers. That's all I wanted to comment.
No, we can use it, they did let us know that as much as that program grows, that we
Yeah,
might
I
have to
understand
give
the
up, so,
program.
yeah, but no, we get to use it now, so, they're letting us.
Right.
And it's not always feasible because the city has to pay the school district for the use of those facilities. So there is some back and forth whenever it comes to using various taxing entities. Item. Next slide, please. All right, these are my taxes. This is what I paid in 2025.
Oh boy, I need to reassess.
The state got a whole $13 from me, and the county got a whole what, $19, $20 from me.
Man, rolling it.
Yep, the city got 95. Holy crap, the city got like 95, so I guess I'm coming to more, city council meetings.
You've got your money's worth,
But, I'm not as rich, I don't have as nice a house as these guys. My Nixon school district bill was $14.88 and $604. I'm paying $2,000 to the schools, and my kids are all grown, and, I'll continue to pay that forever.
Can I make a comment on that real quick about not being as rich? People ask why we reassess every 2 years.
Oh, that's off. How to turn off?
I turned it off.
Oh.
I don't trust Tom.
Our ta-
Yeah. Actually, I've been told I shouldn't.
There you go. That's
my tax bill on my house isn't because I'm rich. My tax bill is because I got a house that's 2 years old. So I'm at 10% of market value on it. So that's why my tax bill is $4,000. Your house is probably
22 years old.
22
yes.
years old. So I'm probably $200,000 under value on his house. That's why we reassess every 2 years.
That's not true.
When you guys were,
I can tell you his address off the top of my head.
It's on his business.
I've looked, I know where he lives. I've looked.
Next slide. Next slide. Everybody's looking at my house from Google Maps. First thing we want to talk about are all of the boards and commissions and everything. The cities are very transparent, okay? I can honestly say, you go to the city and you go to the county website, you can dig into their budgets as deep as you want to go. That's how I discovered a $45,000 bucket or something like that? Over at the pool.
Water bucket, yeah.
The $45,000.
Oh, I remember that.
It was right there on the budget. But
That was not the county?
But these entities that we're about to cover now, a lot of them are not transparent. They don't have websites, and if they do have websites, they definitely don't have their budget on there. All of the numbers that I'm about to show you came from the state auditor's website, and all it is an annual declaration that shows how much they took in and how much they spent, basically. And they don't give you a lot of detail. So if you want to get involved, remember, every single one of these boards, commissions, and committees are made up of citizens. They're made up of you, and they're made up of you, and they're made up of me. If there were 10 of me, I would be on 10 boards. But there aren't. Thank God. I'm pretty sure some people would say.
Amen.
The Christian County Library Board takes in $3.6 million, and they spend $3.6 million. $2 million of that is payroll. They have a lot of librarians at their libraries. Of course, that's all they're really doing is just shuffling books in and out, right? The buildings are already built, and there's some bonds that they have to pay off. Underneath there are all of the people that are on that board. The library board is appointed by the county commission, and they do take applications. And right now they are still in zones, and there are 2 vacant zones, the Nixa vacancy and the Highlandville Spokane vacancy. So if you're concerned about how much they're spending, you could be one of the 5 voices on that board saying, don't spend any more money. But if you don't care, if you don't get involved, then I guess somebody that wants to spend money is going to decide to get on that board and spend that money. Next slide. The health board. I couldn't find any information. I'm pretty sure there is on their website. But these are the 5 people that are elected. I know that they have reduced their budget by a whole lot. I don't have the numbers though. They are doing a good job. If you go and ask them, I'm pretty sure that they would give you the budget in a heartbeat. They've reversed a lot of things in the past 3 years where a lot of money was spent before COVID that would have ended up costing us a lot more money in the long run. Next. Senate Bill 40, CC Links. Honestly, I don't really know what CC Links does. I think that's transportation, right?
No,
Nope.
CC Links,
Good.
Go ahead.
that is a board made up. CC Links provides a lot of different things for children and people with disabilities in the area. A lot of different programs, and they have a lot of special regulations on their board of who can be on their board, based on those things. So it's very detailed. It's on CC Highway. Andrea is the president of that group, not the president of the board, but she is there. So you should go by, see that, view it, ask questions. It's really an amazing organization and all the things that they do there.
And one of the things that they use their money for, they actually donated $250,000 to Nixon Parks for the all-inclusive playground.
Outstanding. Now we know a little bit more about what CC Links does. Listed there, and this slideshow will be on Facebook, available for anybody to see.
Well,
And
and
I was able
all
to-
of the boards are on the county website. If you go to commissioners,
That's
go down
right.
to boards, and every appointed board from the commission, there's 7 different boards on there. You can see every person and their date and their terms.
Right, and that's where I got these dates and their terms from. Johnny Williams actually went to work and made that happen as soon as he got in office. Next slide. Senior Citizen Service Board. I'm pretty sure that they
That's some
provide
transportation.
transportation.
They do different services, the food they do where elderly need to get back and forth, get groceries. They have times where they come and get their toenails cut, different things they provide them. And Bill Anker, the president of that, does an absolutely amazing job.
Senior services.
It's the only senior services in the state of Missouri that they provide transportation for anybody that's a citizen in Christian County. A senior needs to go to Springfield. They do provide transportation, and it's the only one in the state of Missouri.
Right. Those are the people that are on the Senior Services Board. Those are their expirations. And if nobody challenges them on those seats, they get reelected or they get appointed, and you never see them on the ballot. Next slide. Nixon School Board. Nixon School Board, we know that they come up every April, and these are their expirations. There's usually 2 or 3 people on the board, and Nixon is one of the highest expenses in the county for the school districts. And just a little note, I couldn't get an accurate number to put on here, plus they got too many people. But they did build a really nice field house. It was like $30 million. Nice indoor place where people can play soccer and all those other supports and everything. The band gets to practice indoors. We have a new polling place now. But for some reason, every time a bond issue or they want to raise taxes comes up on the ballot, everybody votes yes. And then they bitch and moan about how high the taxes are. Questions will come up at the end. Next slide. Nixa Fire Protection District Board. Nixa Fire Protection District is where we are tonight, and they have this beautiful room provided to us for $35 an hour. That board gets to determine how much you pay in your taxes. And last year, they tried to raise your levy by 38%. These 5 people made that decision to put it on the ballot for you. You do not have to be a firefighter to be on the board. And if nobody challenges one of these people when it's their term, then they get reelected or somebody gets elected and you never see it on the ballot. And they're spending your money too. Next. The Ambulance District Board. Last year, they decided that they wanted to have a sales tax and still have their property taxes. They promised to phase out the property taxes if they bring in enough sales taxes. I did the numbers. They're gonna go from $2 million to $6 million in tax revenue. I don't know what they're gonna do with it. Right now, they have one administrator, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna be hiring a new administrator for every ambulance house that they have. I'm pretty sure that at some point, they're all gonna have their own vehicles, brand new. And the worst thing about the Ambulance District Board, in my opinion, is that if you get picked up by an ambulance, you or your insurance is still gonna pay $2,000 to $5,000 for the ride up to Springfield. So it's not free because you pay your taxes. That money is basically used for facilities and for payroll. Next slide. Ozark Tech Board. Oops, I made a little. The Ozark Technical School, our county school, has a board, and they also get tax money, and they also spend your tax money. That's to offset people's going to college. See, I should have went to college, then I'd know how to talk, right? But it offsets a lot of the cost for kids to go to school. It does fund the A+ program, where kids can take classes while they're juniors and seniors in high school. They are good programs, but if they're spending too much of your money, you can always get on this board. It is an elected board, and you can make a difference. Next slide.
Hey, Ron, isn't that election there, isn't that done online in December only? I got an email.
It's an election. That's all I know. The Ozark Special Road Districts. The special road districts are the least transparent of all of the boards that we have in Christian County. I could not find names for any of the road districts. I wish I could. I could have put them up here. But the Ozark Special Road District is one of the biggest ones. They spend about $2.5 million. They bring in $2.6 million. And there are people on that board, and you can be one of them if you want to slow down the spending. Next. Building Special Road District. $804,000 they bring in. They spend $785,000. They have a salary payroll. That was one of the few things I could find online of $212,000. They're spending $212,000 to employ people over on the west side in Billings, in the Billings area. Next slide. Garrison Special Road District gets $138,000 last year, and they spent $785,000. I don't know how they did that, but it must be a mystery. No, they get grants. They do get grants. South Sparta, that covers most of around Sparta. They have decent roads out there. They spend as much as they bring in. $153,000 coming in, $153,000 going out. Next slide. Selmore Special Road District. If you don't know where this is at, kind of southwest area.
South of Bozeman.
65.
Yep. 65 and EE. They bring in $217,000 in tax money, and they spend all of it, $196,000. Stoneshire Special Road District, they get 55, and then last year they spent 52. And the only note that I found looking at their numbers is that they did spend $10,000 clearing the roads during the winter, clearing snow. It's the only road district that actually put that in their financials to let everybody know that they are spending some money on road clearing.
Where is that?
Highlandville.
That's Highland.
Highlandville.
Yeah. I don't even know why it's called Stoneshire, but okay. Next. And with that, we've covered just about all of the taxing entities in the county. I just want to remind everybody that all of these boards, commissions, and committees are made up of citizens. There's no special people. You don't have to have a special degree. You just have to have the desire and the ability and the time in your schedule to go to what, 1 or 2 meetings a month, right? And be involved in what those operations are. So now we can start taking questions with a microphone. He had his hand up first.
So in all these elections where taxes are being raised or levies are being done to us, or bonds are being extended, is there any requirement for the election to have a quorum of voters? In every type of business that there is out there, whether it's a profit or a nonprofit, if you don't have a quorum attending the business, you can't do business. And if you have a quorum requirement and a bunch of people leave, you can shut down the business of the body. So my question is, do we have a minority of self-interested employees voting themselves raises, like for school bond issues?
Well, we really don't have any standards for who gets elected. Like I said at the very beginning, if nobody runs for a position, it is up to the board or the commission to appoint the person. And everybody knows how things work. If you're on a board and you guys are trying to cooperate, you are going to find somebody that you want to work with to appoint. You're never going to find opposition. You're never going to find somebody who is going to be tough on taxes and tough on the budget and say, hey, we don't need this or we don't need that. So it's up to everybody out here to get involved and put their name on the hat, put their name on the ballot, get involved. Next.
I think most people are okay with, some taxes, and you wanna have good fire departments, you wanna have good ambulance, that kind of stuff. It's just how it's used. Example, in Sparta, they have the library, which the taxpayers pay for, has a meeting room. The fire department built a new facility. They put a new meeting room there for the community to use. Ambulance on the same property is building a new ambulance, and my understanding is they're gonna have a meeting room. How many meeting rooms does Sparta really need? I mean, isn't that kind of a ridiculous waste of money? And then the other thing is, one of my pet peeves, I'll make it short. I had an older gentleman out at my house, he coded, I'm doing assessment, I call 911, they said ambulance en route, paramedics get there, they've been there, they've already assessed, he's already got up and said he's not going to the hospital, and here comes a fire truck with a full crew on there. And so they pull up the house and they said, well, they're at the shop. And he said, can I drive across your field? She said, nope. So they all walked up there. When the fire truck was en route, I mean, I understand if they were I understand like if the fire truck would have been next door doing something. But if the ambulance is already en route, why in the world would you send the fire truck? Well, I asked a guy who's on higher up in one of those, I won't write him out, but he's in the know, he's on the board or whatever. Anyway, he said it's for the numbers, because let's say you say that the fire department says, we need more money. We made 1,000 calls last year. They don't tell you that 750 of those calls they didn't need to even go to. It's just a number game.
Oversight. That's the big
Real
thing.
quick, Mike, because I think
there's only a bunch of us that are involved. So guess what? If everybody isn't getting involved, people will continue to do things
that was
behind the curtains and not the right thing.
that's what I was going to say. I think that's the point that Ron's trying to make here tonight, is let you know who's in charge of all those funds. And this isn't a dig at you at all, because you come to all this stuff and you get informed, but sounds like you got concerns with the ambulance district and the fire district. How many of their board meetings have you been to?
I don't know when they even have them.
Right. But they got a phone number, call and check them out. That's what I think this information or this meeting is
Yes.
for, is so Ron is trying to explain to people, that's how we hold them accountable. Call them and ask them.
Go to the meetings. Go to the meetings, ask the questions.
They might have a need for that room. I don't know.
And worst case scenario is that they give you the information and you're like, okay, but how can you complain about a budget that you never looked at? How can you complain about how much money this place is spending or that place is spending if you haven't looked at their budget? How can you hold the county commissioners responsible for what the school districts are doing, or what the ambulance districts are doing, or in the last election, what the fire district was doing? The fire district has nothing to do with the county commission. They're totally separate funds. That's what we're talking about tonight, and that's what I was trying to get across. Once you understand all the different taxing entities, then you can start putting pressure on those specific places, those boards. You can get involved and start attending the meetings, look at their budget, demand their budget, and then start publishing what they're doing if they're not doing everything right. And that's kind of my conclusion tonight. We need more citizens to be involved. If I can get the information out to you, will you attend the meetings? I hope so. And with that, the CCMRA Tax Forum comes to a close, and I'd like to thank everybody for attending, including Chris Snyder, Jarad Giddens, Johnny Williams, and this guy right here, Jeremy Burns. Yes.
Thanks,
He had a
Ron.
question over there.
You're welcome. All right.
Yeah.
Now let's turn it in.